So I'm going to be going over how I diagnose and find failing client accounts within 10 minutes. And I do this so I can prevent churn. In the past, I've dealt with a ton of clients that they would churn even when they would make money with us. And I could never put my finger to why it was. And most of the time, it just came down to the way that the client was actually framed. And so what I had to do and what I had to train my team to do was how to actually perform a bottleneck analysis so we could find out the failing points within the system that we were running for our clients, whether it was a media buying issue, whether it was a call center issue, or whether it was a closing problem on our client's end. But before that, we were just absolutely guessing. And we were just firing in the dark and we didn't know exactly what the problem was at all. But now this simple 10-minute bottleneck analysis allows us to spot issues before they even occur. Okay, so this is how I diagnose any failing client in under 10 minutes. This is the exact same bottleneck analysis that my team runs on all of our client accounts. And it's exactly how we spot problems before our clients do. And we can also catch churn 30 to 90 days before it even happens and know exactly where to put our time and energy, and same with our client as well. So for a little bit of context, my agency does $180K a month booking on-site appointments for contractors. We've worked with over 250 clients at this point, and we run this analysis on every single account. And it's pretty simple on purpose. A lot of you, I'm sure, maybe even do this for your own agency, but you're not doing it for your clients and you're wondering why your churn is through the roof. So here's why most agencies can't diagnose anything. When an account is struggling, most agency owners will do one of two things. They will panic and change everything, new creative, new targeting, they'll relaunch the campaign, new landing page, and do all of that at once. And now you have no idea what fixed it or what broke it even further, okay? Or you blame the client, right? Which is like their close rate sucks, which maybe it is, but you're guessing. And clients can obviously smell a guess. And if you don't actually have reasoning behind that, a client will be able to just indirectly be able to tell that, like, okay, this guy's just trying to put all the blame on me. And because of that, like, it just, subconsciously, now I feel even more that it's his fault and that it's this agency owner's fault. And this is why the bottleneck analysis even exists, is to locate this problem within minutes every single time, okay? So what you want to do first is you want to pull the right data window first, okay? So before you even look at a single number, get your window right. Minimum, what we will do is we'll look at this on a minimum of 2 weeks worth of time. Ideally, it's going to be a full month, sometimes even 2 months or 3 months, depending on how long that client has been with us. The reason is because the sales cycle from when you are actually running ads to generating leads to your clients, getting them to them actually closing deals, depending on what they're selling, and for my clients, it's a higher ticket product and service that they're selling, the sales cycle needs time to catch up with itself. So you need to give it an ample amount of time. And I set this expectation with every single one of our clients as well before we even close them. So they're under this expectation from the get-go. Because it's important that you have this time to collect enough data so you can do this then appropriately. It's just good practice for scaling any campaign, really. So like I said, a lead might come in 1 week and might not become a sale or even the appointment occurring until week 3, right? So there's a lag that needs to catch up with itself. So if you have a new client, small sample, you got to wait. Bad data can be absolutely worse than no data as well, which is why, like I mentioned, I set this expectation very heavily with all of our clients and have my CSMs do that as well. So our clients actually understand, first month of running ads, like we're in data collection phase, right? Like they're going to get on-site appointments, they're going to get opportunities, but we need to have like an ample amount of time here to collect this data and let the sales cycle catch up with itself as well. Okay, so this is the metric stack and what I will do when I do this is I literally will just do this with like a pen and paper right in front of me, and I'll write everything down. So the total ad spend for that amount of window, right? So like if I'm looking at a 1 month time period, how much in total ad spend was there, and I'm writing that number right at the top. The lead stage, how many leads were generated, the cost per lead, and then for the appointment stage, I'm looking at the appointments booked, cost per appointment, the lead to appointment conversion rate as well. That's a big one that not a lot of people pay attention to. And then the outcome stages also, which were, the appointments that actually occurred, not just the ones that were booked, and then the closes, so we can determine the close rate, and then cost per acquisition off the ad spend, and then cost per acquisition off ad spend and management fee as well. So, and then in the money stage, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the total cash collected per project as well, cash collected per appointment, cash collected per lead, the ROAS, overall profitability, all of that. Okay, so basically you can read the stack like a diagnosis tree, essentially from top to bottom. So if the cost per lead is too high, we might have a media buying problem, right? But even if that's the case, and maybe cash collected is like outstanding, like at the bottom of this tree, of this funnel, as you could look at it as well, maybe you can justify your higher cost per lead, but you don't know. So again, like just for the sake of this example, cost per lead is too high. I mean, I can automatically assume that, okay, maybe we're having a media buying problem. Is it creative targeting, offer angle? That I then know where to put the time and energy into if, lead cost is too high and maybe there's not enough cash collected to really account for it at the bottom, or the ROAS as well. So maybe we have leads coming in, but they're not converting into appointments, right? So there's two suspects here. Either the lead quality is bad, which will then point back to the media buying, or the appointment booking process is struggling. Speed to lead follow-up. My call center or my setters they're struggling. There's a disconnect somewhere, right? And then we could look and see how many leads got disqualified. Are we disqualifying too many, too heavily? Maybe they're just coming in and we're disqualifying them for, legitimate reasons. Can point that right back to media buying again. And if the leads are qualified and they're not booking, then, that would be the call center operation, of course. So, and our KPI that we want to work in for every single account for just a healthy lead to appointment conversion rate is somewhere between 30 and 40%. That's normally a pretty good window to be in. It means we're generating enough leads so we're not leaving money on the table, and we're getting enough shots on the board, which is that's why we like to be in that 30 to 40% range. Sometimes it can be higher, sometimes it can be a little bit lower as well. Maybe appointments are booking, but they're canceling, not showing up, whatever it is. Maybe the confirmation reminder process is a problem. This would be on the agency side. This would be on my side. So appointments are maybe they're occurring, but they're not closing. Now this is where we can kind of look into it at the client level. So two questions here. Is there data on your side that could pre-frame these appointments better before the client walks in? And is the client actually doing something wrong on the onset appointment itself? And this is where we can coach our client instead of just silently, eating the blame for it as well. And being able to catch this very early on also. And we can kind of come to the client and be like, okay, we just ran a full bottleneck analysis on your account. And the only weak point that we see, after this entire analysis is the close rate being a problem, right? So let's sit down, let's go through these appointments that aren't closing. Let's see if we can find some patterns. And it's kind of a polite way to actually coach them on sales as well, without just automatically pointing the finger at them and making it seem like it's all their fault, which obviously with any working relationship, we're not trying to do that with our clients. We actually want to coach them. They signed up with us. They pay us. We appreciate their money. Now we want to make sure that they can make a lot on the other side of this as well, and give them everything that we possibly can so they have the highest chances of success. So one of the reframes that I've taught to our CSMs, and this is a pretty big one for going back to our clients, is the cash collected per appointment. And this reframe can actually save a ton of accounts, and it has. So clients, they're not going to be really feeling the percentages, the close rates. All they feel is like the effort, okay? Because they're not like sitting at their desk, like just taking sales calls all day. Like they're actually having to get like in their truck, like in their vehicles, and drive to every single appointment, right? And like fuel will start adding up, and just the time that it takes to go out to all these appointments, like they will feel the effort. They're not feeling the actual percentages or the conversions, right? So a client who's gone out on a bunch of appointments and closed, a few deals will feel like it's not working, even when the math will say that it's actually printing, right? So what we'll show them is the cash collected per appointment. Okay, so this is like every time they're going out to an appointment, now they know that they're making money on it, right? So what we'll say is something like this: based on what you've collected so far, every single appointment that we send you is putting X amount into your pocket. So you're literally profitable on every single appointment, right? Like we just had this conversation with a client just last week, and his cash collected per appointment that we were booking for him was like $700. So we were like, dude, like every single appointment that we send you, like you're making like $700 like per appointment. Not actually, but like that's what the math kind of comes down to, and it boils down to is that you're collecting, like we're looking at the cash collected divided by, the total amount of appointments that have occurred. That's the cash collected like per on-site appointment, which would be, if we were doing this for like the agency, that would be like our cash collected per call. This is the exact same data. It's just now a completely different conversation. Now the client stops counting the appointments that they didn't close and starts seeing every appointment as a unit of profit. Completely changes the way that they're seeing it. If you sell any kind of appointments, bookings, or calls for a higher ticket service, this one reframe will save accounts that were emotionally gone, but like mathematically great, because we had this happening with so many clients. I mean, we would have people that would make hundreds of thousands of dollars with us and still churn. We were like, what the hell? Like, where is the disconnect? Like, what could we possibly be doing wrong? And just approaching the client with this reframe in many instances was a huge difference maker after doing this for an extended period of time now. And we've noticed it in our churn because it's obviously gone down tremendously. So this bottleneck analysis, when you're doing it with your CSMs, or your CSMs are doing it on their own, the part that nobody talks about is that this is actually the analysis that will let you spot a churn 30, 60, 90 days before the client even says a word. And now, I mean, if you're in the agency game, you have a marketing agency like I do, you never want to be in a position where like the client is coming to you first, like with problems, or reaching out to you first. Like, you always want to be reaching out to them first, making sure that you're answering their questions before they even have the opportunity to ask them. So on paper, the stack will actually degrade before the relationship does. The cost per appointment's creeping up. The appointment show rate is slipping. Close rates dropping for 2 cycles straight. The client hasn't complained yet, but the numbers are already telling you that the we need to talk, is coming, and you can prevent that well in advance. And because we run this on every single one of our accounts, not just the ones that are loud or might be struggling already, we can intervene while the account is still savable. And this is what's really important about doing this bottleneck analysis, because if you can fix the bottleneck or get ahead of it with one client before the frustration actually compounds into a cancellation, you can prevent it well in advance, 30 days or possibly even months in advance. Now, churn prevention, like so many people think, they think it's like a save call script, like they're having to like resell and like re-objection handle again, where yes, in some instances you might have to do that, but this is where you can catch the problem while it's still just a number and you have full control over it. So you're never even having to have those churn save conversations that every agency owner or CSM hates having. So it takes 10 minutes per account, and then you and your clients are never having to guess again.